Mic check. Mic check, 1, 2. Do people still do that? Mic check. So this is a live video. So, hi everyone, hello. Hope everyone's okay. Today I'm going to be talking about my process, which is my process of drawing commissioned work for customers. So I get a few people emailing me about, creating something personalized, and quite often I'll be asked about how the process will go, what the lead time is and whether we have to meet up and how we communicate and etc. So I wanted to go through that in a bit more detail. 1 minute. That's better. My door was open. Right. So, if you're not sure what commissioned work means, because I didn't before I started drawing, commissioned work is simply work that you request someone to do for you, which you will end up owning, and it tends to be your vision, your idea, and then an artist will take that, run with it, and create some work for you, and you alone. That's commissioned work. So that's what that means. I hope that helps. There was a fair bit of commission work in the Renaissance period. In Italy, there was the big boys, the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. They were commissioned by who would it have been? The Pope? Maybe the Catholic Church as a whole. Anyway, whoever was in charge, they would commission Da Vinci and Michelangelo to create works of art on behalf of the church, and they would get paid for it. And that's what I do, but without the church and without the huge paychecks. So just an example of what commission work is. So the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel, which I've not yet seen. I did book a flight to Italy, which unfortunately I had to cancel. I was so close to going to see it for the first time. That was a commissioned work. Yeah, that was that turtle was commissioned to do that ceiling. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing, commission work, and it makes up the vast majority of the work I do. Unfortunately, I can't share a lot of the commission work that I draw, because it tends to be for gifts, which quite often are surprises and not at that time. So I'll draw something for someone, I'll get it signed off, we'll get it framed, printed and sent out, but they probably won't be able to show that to their friend or family or whatever for like another 6 months or so. So if they're very prepared, they'll get their gift in nice and early. My point being that I can't always share the commission work that I do, which is it is what it is. So it is what it is. Have you seen that video? I don't know the context of it. Some dude's in a circle and one of the guys is like, it is what it is. Does anyone know what that's about? can't think of what the context is now. I've seen it on Twitter a few times. I can't think now. Anyway, so I've just shared some on my Instagram at Draw My Town, which is some commission work that I did a few months ago for a nice lady named Lisha, and she came along with her partner in Tooting. We met for a coffee. Actually, I'll go back before that. So she emailed me at hello@drawmytown.com, basically saying to me, hi, I like your work, or I like your style. I want to discuss a commissioned work for my friends who are leaving for Dubai, leaving London to go and live in Dubai. That tends to be how it is in the first email, just a brief, I'm interested, rah, rah. So I reply, I say, hi Lisha, how you doing? Sounds cool. What do you have in mind? At which point my potential customer I'll normally recommend that they might tell me in the first email. Some people, it's on a scale really, like you'll have it. Some people up here who've got it depends what their personality traits as well, but here you've got the very people who can visualize, and they've got a very clear vision of what they want to see on the paper, where they want to see it, what they don't want to see included, the style, the colors, that kind of thing. They're up here, and they tend to have something drawn already. They'll give it you and go, run with this. At the very bottom, you've got people who just haven't got a clue about. They know they want something, and they know they've got a friend with a birthday or an anniversary or something, and they require a bit more chit chat, a bit more communication and back and forth about what they want. And both are cool. I'm used to dealing with both. That's not a problem. But it depends. It just differs from customer to customer. Some people have a clear vision of what they want. Some are clueless with what they want, and obviously you just got some people in the middle as well. And as I said before, each of those. At each end of the spectrum there is absolutely fine, and I can work with the customer regardless of where they are in terms of their vision. Anyway, on this occasion I was living in Tooting, which is southwest London, and so was Lisha, so that was very helpful. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Leisha. Yeah, I hope so. Apologies if not. I went to meet her. Very nice lady. She brought a partner along as well. And we had a coffee, which was great. Where did we go? Went to a Kurdish place in Tooting, a Kurdish cafe. Anyway, we had a tea. Coffee, can't quite remember now. It would have been tea. And she basically laid out exactly what she wanted. Now, Lisha just happened to be here on this end of the spectrum, which is that she knew exactly what she wanted. She knew what would work, what wouldn't work, and so much so that she physically gave me a piece of paper and said, "Here, Ben, this is my draft drawing of what I've thought. My thoughts are on this paper now." And she gave me this paper, and as I said in the post on my Instagram just now, I was so impressed. I was taken aback because, one, I'd never had a draft drawing from someone before, and two, not only did she draw it, but everything was there, like the positioning was there of everyone. There were notes next to each person and next to each building and object and all this sort of stuff. So it was great. Yeah, it made my job a hell of a lot easier. Anyway, we had a good chat back and forth about what I like to gather is, and and I don't always do this with customers, not like, often it's not necessary, but I like to get a good feel for not the person who's commissioning me to do it, but the people who it's for. I like to get a good view of what their personality is about. If they could take a joke, if they're very serious, if they're more into fine art, if they're more into cartoons. There's again another spectrum here of how serious the drawing needs to be. So for example, I'm speaking to my friend. No, I'm not going to say that in case it's a surprise, but I've just spoke to a friend who's commissioned me to do a new work, which is not until Christmas, so we've got time. So I won't say her name, but her friends are a little bit crazy, a little bit fun, a little bit nuts, and that's good because it means I've got more artistic license to flow with the characters, and I can be a bit silly with it, which is what I like to do. Often I had one for a lady. It was a gent who contacted me for his wife, Ira, and she's like a fantastic marathon runner. She ran Berlin, Chicago, London, and Birmingham marathons. And her husband got in touch with me, and he wanted something for her. So I drew a physical road with the 4 marathons at each stage. So with Berlin, I did the wall and the tall round thing. Birmingham, I drew the bull and the bull ring, and Chicago, I did that mirror beam thing, and London, London buildings. So you get the idea. And although I drew the son and daughter in as well, and the dog, who was adorable, it was it wasn't comedic as such. It was about her success of those marathons, you see, and like a timeline almost. So it was done in like quite a serious way. So it really depends on what the customer wants. So that's why I like to get an idea of what the customer is about, not necessarily the person who's commissioning me to do it, and the person who's paying. So that's what we had a chat, Alicia and I, and her partner, about who it's for. A guy and a girl who, I think they've left now, but they were leaving London to go to Dubai. That was what the gift was for, like a goodbye thing. And they have such a fun time. She was telling me about how it's a little gang of them. So I drew 8 to 10 people, I think. And each of them, have their own personality that I wanted it to shine in the drawing as well. So Leisha, I drew on a stage singing karaoke and doing a little dance. There were a few people drinking pints. There were shots dotted around, a fair bit of booze. There was what do you call it? What you ride in the snow? Snowmobile. Sounds a bit James Bond. One of them that capsized. There was a hot air balloon that was out of control. There were lots and lots of little stories from their life that was included in the drawing. And she gave me a good idea of what the customer would want from the drawing. That's it. Simple as that. What do they want from it? So I got a good vibe for what the end result would look like. Nice and colourful, nice and vibrant, quite comedic in places, and just fun. So I went away with my little piece of paper, my A4, my little draft paper that she drew for me, which was fantastic. If you look on my recent post, by the way, on the gram, I put the actual thing that she did for me, the drawing, the draft design that we had in the coffee shop, next to the end result. So hopefully you can see. And she just commented on the post actually. Oh God, is it a good or a bad thing? Let's have a look. So you can get a good idea. But as I've said in the post as well, I wrote in the description underneath the post that it's not necessary. You know, it's not. Although this was great what she did for me, because it makes my job a lot easier. It's not. It doesn't set a precedent for all drawings going forward. Like, I don't expect people to come up with the draft idea of what they want. 99% of the time, it'll just be people who send me a list in email or Google Docs or WhatsApp. Quite literally a list of like 15 things. Me, husband, dog, son, daughter, I don't know, van, house, London Eye, hills, valleys, whatever, you know. They'll literally send me a list, and then I just run with it. And part of my job is to design it as well. So not just to draw it, of course, but to put it in some visual, well, to make it visually appealing, really. You know, I'm not just gonna draw 15 things just looking at the camera, just blocked. Do you know what I mean? There's no story to that. There are artists out there that will do that, and that's cool if that's what you want. But I like to think that I can create a story within the artwork. So that's what you pay for, I suppose. So I tried to make them connect, and I tried to use it in one scene, one landscape as well. So if you look at the recent post that I shared for Leisha's artwork, it's although there's buildings from Dubai, London, and New York, I try my best to get it within one scene and one landscape. Right, she's just commented. Let's see. She says, you totally brought my vision to life. That's good. But it was your additional ideas that came through, your creativity, that was the cherry on top. Our friends loved it. Well, thank you. Thank you for having the confidence in me to do it, I guess. Yeah, so that was a successful job. That was framed and presented to her friends at the goodbye party thing that she did for them. So I've got a photo of them holding the frame as well. So that's pretty cool. So going back to what I originally wanted to talk about, the process of commissioned work is that you simply, at the very least, you tell me what the occasion is and who it's for. Actually, I don't care who it's for. You just tell me what the occasion is. And anything above that is a bonus, basically. You know what I mean? I've had, a few months ago, I had a lady tell me that it's for her niece's 16th birthday, 15th, sorry. So, and that was it. You know, I had to go, she said, feel free to look at her profile and see on the slide, obviously, and see what she's into. Something to do with, there's a video game that she likes, but she couldn't quite remember what it was, and etc. So I went in stealth mode. I had a look at what game it was, like an online platform game. I found out what music she liked. It's pretty easy nowadays with social media to find out what people are into. And that's what I did. I rolled with that, and it turned out a success. But my point is, you don't have to know everything about someone's life in order to create something commissioned for them. It could be the slightest thing. It could be the fact that they like blue. It could be not the band, the color. It could be the fact that they're into dogs. It could be that they hate cats. It could be that they like raving. Anything. We'll run with it. We'll make it work. And that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about, commission work. If you do want something commissioned from me for someone else or for yourself, then all you need to do is email me hello@drawmytown.com. You can message me on here on Instagram or on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter or WhatsApp or my website. I'm such a slut. You can just email. I've just put myself everywhere, to be honest. You can contact me however you wish, but all you need to do is just ask for commission work, and I will do the rest. I will reply and say, hey, what have you got in mind? And then we just go from there. It's a shame that we can't meet up for coffee. I tend to do that with my customers who've got something quite complex in mind, because it's nice to meet people, full stop, but difficult at the moment. We could pretend that we're going for a jog, I suppose, and then we could just jog on Regent's Canal and just chat about what you want. So, who's it for? You charge how much? We could do that. Make sure Boris doesn't find out. Or we could pretend that we're in each other's bubble. No, let's just stick to email from now on. Until the world gets back to normal again. So that's it. I've got a few commission work. I've said that a lot, haven't I, this video. I've got a few works on my list. But the good news is people are thinking about Christmas way earlier than they normally would. Thanks, Corona. Which means that I don't have so much urgency. Normally, it's the second week in December where people panic and go, oh, can you think of something for my fiance? Can you think of something for my mum? Even the third week in December, people just panic. I mean, I do it as well, but I always make it work. But the fact that people are thinking about things now means that we've got more back and forth, and we can put together something truly special, you see. Yeah, so there's a few things on the list here. I'm going to begin one shortly after this video, which is a Clapham scene. She sent me, how many people? 3. There's my customer, her husband, and the child. She wants drawn into the Clapham map, which I've got. You may or may not have seen that, but that's what she wants doing this evening. I'm going to blast that out before I eat my Ben & Jerry's, cook some food and watch Netflix. Not in that order. I'm going to eat the Ben & Jerry's after I cook the food and eat the food as well. And then Netflix. What am I watching? I hear you saying, well, I'm watching something called The Last Kingdom. Now, I'm a bit obsessed with history at the moment. I go through phases where it could be geography, history, could be biology, botany, all the N's, any, astronomy, psychology. But at the moment, it happens to be history. So I was Googling for a good historical program where it wasn't all effects and crash bang wallops. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't all explosions and bang bang. There was quite a bit of historical context to it. Sort of 80%, 90% of it to be pretty darn accurate, you know. Like The Crown, but like before The Crown. You know, I recognise The Crown. Do you know what I mean? It's the same, even though it's wartime and pre-war, I still recognize the people in it, you know. It could easily be my granddad, my great granddad, or my, you know, we like the same things, we don't like the same things, the country pretty much the same. What I wanted was something way back, pre-crown, you know, the very first kings and queens. So I wanted something which was not as far back as the Romans, because I'm a bit bored of the Romans actually. And I'll tell you why, because Hollywood loves the Romans, man. It was a very sexy time. There was a lot of how do I put it gently? There was a lot of sex. You know, men went with men, women went with women. There was a lot of affairs. There was a lot of orgies. At least in Hollywood version of Rome, anyway. So, yeah, Hollywood likes to run with that. And the amount of things I've seen about Roman times it's a lot, man. Like, there's a lot out there. You know, they've got the sexy uniforms, and there's swords and leather, you know what I mean? So I'm done with that, actually. I'm done with all that. Sorry, Romans. So I wanted something pre what I recognize, but post Roman. So something in between there. So how far back do you go from where you sort of don't recognize things anymore? So I thought about it, and I thought, if I go back to Queen Victoria, as I said before, it's still recognizable, you know. I can trace my ancestors back to the Victorian era. And I still recognize London. I still recognize the shops, the commerce, the way of life. I don't live it anymore, but I recognize it. That's the point. So I wanted to go way before that. So screw Victoria. How far back do we go? If we go back to Isaac Newton, them old days, then do I still recognize things? Well, I'm sure there's still a bit of Latin being thrown around. Is there? Yeah. Yeah, of course there is, yeah. He wrote in Latin, did he not? Not sure about that one. Anyway, Isaac Newton, you know, me and him probably had the same days from when we wake up to when we go to sleep. We do similar things. Admittedly, he has a bit more of an effect on the world than I will, but I still recognize him as a person, you know, as a British dude, and the house he lived in, and his estate, and all this kind of thing is not a million miles away. Same with Shakespeare. Actually, not so much with Shakespeare, but slightly different houses. But even then, we get into it. Yeah, we get into it. Once the houses start to look a bit different and people start talking differently, then you're kind of onto something there. But even with Shakespeare, you know, you've still got Bankside next to the Thames. You've still got theatres, commerce, you know, people doing little boat rides over the Thames and things like that. So you've still got familiarity there, albeit changing the language slightly. So even that was too recognizable. So we're going further back. How far do we go? Do we go 1400s, 1300s? Yeah, So I pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. As soon as I got to the Romans, I thought, no, we've gone too far now. So what I sort of decided on, what I ended up dealing with in terms of what piqued my interest was the Romans are tough. They've gone. They've left a little vacuum, I guess, in our glorious land. And now who takes over? Well, you've got little gangs in the country. And these are the times, where you could quite literally just get 20 of your best mates, get them on WhatsApp and just say, listen, meet me outside Nando's in 20 minutes. Bring a sword. Bring your big mate, if you've got one. We're going to some shit up, basically. So these are the days where you just come with your 20 lads. You march onto the nearest castle. And if you're strong enough, and if you're powerful enough, and mean enough, and reckless enough, you just smash the door down, slaughter the dude who claims he's in charge. And then you're literally in charge of that town. It's nuts, man. You know what I mean? Like, there was no, very little law and order anyway. I know the Romans brought a fair bit of order to the country, but since they've gone, it's a bit more of a dog-eat-dog world, yeah. So you've got these people fighting for who's going to rule over certain places. You've got the kingdoms, which sort of look like counties, I guess. Anglia, which is where I'm from, which is obviously not Anglia anymore, but Northumbria, what else? Wessex, Cornwall, Wales was about as well, Scotland, of course, and Ireland over the water as well. So you've got these big places that people just want to rule. So anyway, I just found that really fascinating. So I chose that era, and then I Googled, roughly what year it was, the year 700, 800 after Christ. And then basically I needed something to do with the Anglo-Saxons. So pre-Normans, post-Roman. And it turns out that The Last Kingdom, which is on Netflix, that took a long time for me to say what I've been watching, didn't it? Sorry about that. I reckon most of you tuned out by now. The Last Kingdom, yeah, it's awesome, man. It's about the Anglo-Saxons. Their time, but it's about mostly the invasion of the Danes and what we'd call the Vikings. So it was essentially Anglo-Saxons versus the Vikings, and it's very well made. There's no big explosions and magic and dragons. It's quite historical. It's quite geeky, and it's great. It's just what I wanted, actually. So The Last Kingdom, and that refers to Wessex, I think, because when the Danes took over, and they were mean bastards as well, when they invaded England, there was a vision of England at that time, which was like a combined, unified kingdom by like one king, essentially. That was kind of the vision, I guess. So what would you call it? Britain? Yeah, I guess so. Anyway, when they invaded, they come from like the northeast, Wayman, and they would sort of trickle down. And I'm pretty sure that Wessex in the south was like the last kingdom to be taken over, or not to be taken over by the Danes. So I think that's what The Last Kingdom relates to, Wessex. Anyway, that's what I'm watching. It's pretty good, man. Really, I'm so sorry for that. What would you call it? It wasn't a rant, was it? It wasn't angry. I don't know what you'd call that. Anyway, I'm sorry for it. I'm meant to be talking about commission work. So if you just want to watch the bit where I speak about artwork and then cut it when I start to talk about what I've been watching, then please do that. Although by this point, obviously, you've watched it, you know, thus far. So I'm going to leave it there. Let me know if you have watched the Last Kingdom, because I like it. And if you're into history, and if you need something to do in these lonely times, then I would recommend it. Yeah. It's not very sexy. It's not like, you know how Game of Thrones set a precedent for anything in that genre where you just expect boobs, swords and dragons. Well, it's not like that. There's a lot of violence, probably more than Game of Thrones. But there's not much sexy time, I'm afraid to say. Very little nudity, which is normal, I guess, but Game of Thrones put me on such a high when it came to what to expect from, you know, TV shows. But it's not a problem. I'm not disappointed by it in the slightest. I can live without boobs for a while. So that's it. Let me know if you watch it. And again, if you need any commission work, let me know soon and we'll sort something out. Thanks. Peace, guys.